Hello, everyone, and we are back. It's been it's a little bit of a short little break there. Quiet, besides the Andrea Riseborough stuff, quiet in terms of all the news after the Oscar nomination. So, little mini break, but we're getting back into it as we head back into the final few weeks before the actual nominations. And one of our biggest precursors, the BAFTAs, are happening, I believe, on the 19th, so very soon. And oddly enough, happening before SAG, which they usually happen after SAG. So who knows? And the BAFTA always also changes their system like every year. So shots in the dark sometimes. But how are you feeling about predicting the BAFTAs, Anthony, which is what we're going to be doing right now?
It'll be a fun conversation.
The
I mean,
Brits, they're hard to
they're hard
decipher.
to, they're hard to land down, especially in as far as their how predictive they are at the Oscars. I mean, it's very rare recently, like since like 12 Years a Slave, they usually don't line up with their best picture picks.
Their
Um,
acting is usually on point in terms of winners. Picture, they're
yes.
usually pretty off.
So it's always interesting to see where are they leaning? What does the jury, which is a part of this voting process, as far as the nominations, and I believe somewhat in the it's just they have
Yeah.
a really interesting process. It takes enough for us to like get knowledge on the preferential balloting for the Oscars.
Yeah,
The BAFTAs are a whole other thing, but
they are.
it's interesting to see, as you said, there's certain things that could happen at BAFTA that could then cement or change up a narrative. You know, Olivia Colman winning the BAFTA was a sign of her strength that we didn't even predict going into the Oscars.
Yeah.
As you mentioned a lot this already this season, Will Smith beating out Benedict
Yes.
Cumberbatch, who is a Brit, kind of then
BAFTA also notoriously not very receptive towards black performers.
yeah. So there are always tea leaves in these other award shows, and in the BAFTAs, you just got to be able to read them the right way.
Yes. Well, let's get right into it with best film, the big one of them all. Me personally, I think it's between two films here. I don't really think any other ones have a chance. And those two films for me would be Banshees of Inisherin, obviously, and Tar are the two films I'm picking between here. And I'm actually going to say, you may sway me. I'm going to say Tar for now, because just when you think of the BAFTAs, they usually go with like the artsier, more like mature picks compared to the Academy. Like they didn't go with Coda last year. That was last year, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Coda was last year.
Yeah. They did do it in screenplay, but they didn't do it in picture. They still went with Power of the Dog. They did Roma instead of
Green
what
Book.
Green Book. Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, I'm just blocking some of the winners out of my mind, but they usually go with the artsier, more like critically well received picks. And I believe Tar also just won the London Critics Film Association, which in the last 10 years they have gone 7 for 10 in terms of what they give picture to and what BAFTA gives picture to. And I'm just feeling a little bit of a Tar resurgence here, like a little strengthening. And I also don't think, because they're usually 50-50 or worse in terms of like what they give recently, what they give picture to here usually doesn't end up winning the Oscar. So I think that's going to happen again this year. And I think that will be Tar. So I'm between those two, but I'm leaning Tar.
So I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I do think let's not count out what was the front runner as far as the nominations or the leading film in
All
nominations
quiet.
with
Yeah.
All Quiet on the Western Front. I do wonder though because this group did give 1917 a Best Picture
Mm-hmm.
prize. They were
This did
that
get more nominations than 1917, though. So
Yes, but
that's
just the
impressive.
idea of I don't know if they're going to go so soon back to another war movie of a similar type. I mean, both
It's
were
also a German story as compared to a 1970s more British.
yes. Though the fact that it is a German story is important because this is the first time that
Yes.
this story about the German front line is being told by Germany.
From,
So,
yeah.
and I think that's what ended up helping it with the Oscars as well. There's a certain of cultural significance that this movie has on top of the already historical impact that this film has had since the first time I believe it won Best Picture
Yes.
all the way back in the beginning of the Oscars.
A while
So I
ago.
wouldn't count that out. If it did win, I wouldn't be surprised. But I do
Yeah.
think as 1917. You know, when you look at them aesthetically, they seem very similar. Of course, they're both, you know, war films, and I feel like most, unless you're Top Gun Maverick, most military war movies are anti-war messaging. Um,
Yes.
so I do agree that I think Banshees, Tar, it's a good type of you know,
Top
horse
two.
race we have there. I do think what helps Tar is that Banshees is also up for Best British Film, which I think it
Yeah.
could win pretty handedly there. And it could either show real strength for Banshees and maybe make people second guess Everything Everywhere or Top Gun at the Oscars if Banshees is able to win both. But I do think that they may, as you said, split the love with a film they also really admire, winning the London Critics Circle, I believe. So I'm going to agree with you and say that Tar will
Oh,
win Best
nice.
Film, and Banshees will win Best British Film. Though again, you know, looking out for those other movies.
Yeah, yeah. Nice. I didn't think many people would be joining me on the Tar track, but you are.
I,
We are Tar's fans.
I mean, we mentioned it last episode. We can't say last week. It's been like a month.
It's been a little bit.
but I mean, Tar was the only
Cinematography,
film.
editing.
It was the only film to get picture, director, and this is from the Oscars: picture,
Yeah.
directing, acting, a screenplay, cinematography, and editing. It's the only film that has like all of those things. Now that doesn't mean that by if it got all those, then by default it should be your front runner. But it does show that we're never talking about Tar underperforming. And I think the only reason why we've been a little hesitant with the Oscars is just that voting group doesn't tend to go for something that cerebral or intellectual. C, Power of the Dog.
Nomadland is the closest they've
Coda.
come to it lately, but that still has a happy ending compared to a movie like Tar.
It has a happy ending, and of course, as we say, I think using the 2020 year is kind of difficult because
Iffy.
there were none of those crowd please. I mean, Promising Young Woman was the closest we got to a crowd pleaser, and that also is a
Yeah.
very depressing movie when you get to the end of it in some regards. So, I do think that Tar could benefit with this organization. They seem to be a little bit tonier, and it's just we're never talking about it underperforming, and it could, you know, I do think it's this type of movie that hasn't ever peaked because it's never been considered the front runner, and that may help it as far as the
Yeah.
BAFTA.
Yeah, definitely. I still don't think it'll win picture, but I do think it will win another besides actress. Okay, let's transition into best director at the BAFTAs, where I do have Todd Field winning for Tar. It just makes the most sense to me. It's it's an artsier pick. They haven't recognized Martin McDonagh for director here. I just think everyone recognized him more as a writer than as a director. I think that will continue. I mean, Berger, maybe, but I don't think he's a big enough name. I don't think there's a big enough narrative for that. I think Chan Wook and Bythewood are both just happy to be there. Although Gina Prince Bythewood did publish a very well written and thought out piece. I forget what trade it was, but I think the Hollywood Reporter. I don't know, but it was a very good article, and I suggest you all read it because she lays down a lot of good points there. And I'm happy she did get nominated somewhere. But Todd Field, it just makes the most sense to me. That's really all I can say. I think it'll line up. They usually do line up picture and director here as well. And I think when he wins this, then he may win DGA, and I think he's going to win the Oscar as well.
I'm starting to feel this is where we start to see Todd Field really emerge, because I think when you talk to people about this movie that love it, they really admire his his charisma as far as a director. Like they really admire that sort of drive that he has, you know. And as you're right, when you look at this list, you know, I think the Daniels will prove to be a
I
little
think
too.
that movie in general is just too out there for BAFTAs in
Yes,
particular. They're very, as Yu Jung Yoon said, a little snobby.
yeah. And then Gina Prince Bythewood, I think, is hurt with the fact that The Woman King is just not an overall player like Tar is, and also it's a more of a commercial film that also I think hurts Everything Everywhere. It's I think it's perceived as a popcorn. I think Decision to Leave, Park Chan Wook is well regarded, but I don't
The
think his
film's just
the film
not a
isn't as big
contender.
as it needs to be. And then Martin McDonagh, you know, if they're really going crazy for Banshees, but I think
He's
screenplays.
the clear number two, I think.
And they could go Edward Berger because out of these, I think it's the most well-respected spectacle of these films. Because I think Everything Everywhere
Yeah.
is again seen by some. I think we'll see it as very amateurish. So Edward Berger has the gravitas and the spectacle that makes directing wins. But I do think that Todd Field, he is a respected auteur. He is as responsible for Tar's success as who will probably win Best Actress, which is Cate Blanchett. So
Yes.
I do think, and I think because as we talked about when we went over the nominations, what Everything Everywhere is now having to undergo is, will it survive the La La Land effect of it's the most nominated movie, it's this it's this little independent film. Are people
It's
now
got the front
expecting
runner
it?
status though.
Yeah, will people now be expecting something that the movie can never deliver on and therefore underperforms in that regard? I do think it's a possibility. Because I'm trying to think, when was the last time that a front runner won multiple? Like, I guess you got to go back to Roma, because that was like it shared the front runner status with The Favorite, I believe, and that won like 3 Oscars. Like that was a big deal. Joker won 2, and that was the front runner of that year. So I just
I
don't
think
see it.
Shape of Water was the front runner in tech noms or overall
Yes, and
noms that
that
year, I
one
think.
that was like 4. So that's a good thing. So I guess Everything Everywhere, I'm just worried about people thinking like just not really giving it a fair shot because they're expecting something that the
I
movie
don't
can
think
never.
they respect it. I think when you look at especially what they give in director, I think there's an aura of respect that sadly I don't think the Daniels will have. I mean, just the last few years, Campion, Zhao, Mendez, Cuarón, Del Toro, uh, probably Chazelle. I think Chazelle won as well. But
Well,
yeah, I
and when you
just
look at like, because I feel like what they have to pull off is a Bong Joon-ho. They have to pull off a passion pick
and he
that
didn't
goes
win here. Yeah,
along with overall support for the film. But I think what Bong Joon-ho had is that he was, I mean,
he'd
it
been
has,
around a while
he's been
too.
around it for a while, and there's some comedic undertones to that movie, but it's a very stark. I think it says something that and Joker were up the same year because they both are talking about these class issues. Everything Everywhere. What's driving it is this emotional bent. And I don't know if emotional. As we saw with Coda, emotion usually doesn't get you Best Director in this modern age. You got to achieve something
It'll get you
of.
picture, not director.
Yes. So that's why, again, I think that with BAFTAs cementing Todd Field, then let's see what DGA does. If
Which I
DGA then.
think is Spielberger Field. And I think you can also bring up the emotion thing with Spielberg. I think the main reason people would be voting for him is because this is his personal emotional story. And I think just with the directors, I think it's more than the narrative. I think they really do look at the actual work more so than in other branches, probably. And I think Todd Field, when you look at all the nominees too, it's the most like directory movie. Like I think it's probably has the most respect. It's Kubrickian. It just
It's the
lines
greatest.
up.
I think it's the greatest directorial. And I think you agree. It's the greatest directorial
Yes.
achievement. And
And
to
Marty
hear people
Scorsese
talk
agrees.
about yes, to hear people talk about like the shot layouts and the editing and like that 10.5 minute one shot. So like I just think people are going to respect that movie more.
Yeah.
So I agree. We're in complete lockstep. Do
I
you
think
agree
we're gonna agree on the
with the
next one, but
British
yeah.
film argument that Banshees will
Yeah.
probably prevail there?
I do think Banshees will win that. Yeah.
Okay.
But
And then do you agree that outstanding British debut will be After Sun?
yeah, I don't know. I think that's pretty easy for that category. And I'll be happy to see it win. Deservedly
Oh,
so. It
very.
deserved more BAFTA love than it got, but Paul Mescal still got in, and that's really all we were rooting for, I guess.
And then real quick, film not in the English
Actress.
language, all quiet
Oh,
on the Western Front. I feel like you got to go like these last two. Like After Sun is the only one of those I believe that also is in for outstanding British debut is in outstanding British film. Good luck to
yeah,
you. Leo Brand is also in there. Um, let me just make sure that's it. Yeah, so it's
yeah.
Good
I
Luck to
think
You, Brand, and After Sun that are in both British debut and British film. But I think The Lean is after Sun, and then All Quiet I think is the only non-English film that's in best film overall.
Yeah,
Uh,
All Quiet's gonna win pretty much everywhere for foreign film at this point, I think. And then yeah, British film I think is pretty easily Banshees. And I think actress is pretty easily Blanchett. I don't
yeah,
even know who else it would be. I'd love to see Daniel Deadwyler win this, but probably not gonna happen. But I'm happy she did get nominated here. But yeah, it just makes sense. I don't really know what else there is to say. If there's anywhere that she's strongest, to be honest, Blanchett, and the like voters would most um have like her performance would most appeal to a certain group of voters, it would be here. So
no, I agree.
she's winning. Actor is a little trickier. I think you probably know what I'm going to say. I am continuing on the Rami Malek path for Austin Butler. And I think just like the BAFTA is clearly like Bohemian Rhapsody, and this is where he won. He also won at SAG, I believe, right? Yeah. And I think Austin Butler is going to do the same. I think he's going to win BAFTA, he's going to win SAG, and then he's going to win the Oscar. And if you look at the nominations, they loved Elvis. I think they loved Elvis more than they loved The Whale. Probably not as much as they loved Banshees. And I think that's your clear number two here would be Colin Farrell. I just, when I look at previous winning performances at the Oscars, maybe not at the BAFTAs, but I just don't, it doesn't seem like a winning performance to me. He doesn't have a transformation thing. He doesn't, it's
Talk
not a
about Colin
super
Farrell.
showy. Yeah, Colin Farrell. It doesn't seem like past winners.
Because
So that's why
when you
I'm
said
leaning.
transformation, I was like, you're definitely not talking about Fraser.
Or Butler. Yeah, they both got a little transformation going on. But yeah, I'd also look out for Bill Nighy
I was
as
about
a
to
like
say,
random
though I think
surprise.
that's a long shot, but it's worth
Yeah,
mentioning.
I think there will be some passion picks for him, but I just don't think the film is wide seen enough. Like I know people bring up stuff like Joanna Scanlon last year, but last year none of the best actress nominees were in the best actress category at the
Penelope
BAFTA.
Cruz didn't even make the long list, and my God, or was it the short list that was really
She
long?
didn't make the long. They call them long lists, but yeah,
Yeah, and my God, it was like everybody and their mother was on that list,
except her.
except Penelope Cruz. So last year was weird with that
It
actress.
was with actress for sure.
But yeah, listen, I'm going to continue with the Colin Farrell trajectory. I think Banshees is the most beloved film in this category. I think Austin Butler is hurt that Rami Malek won so recently because I think that there was an element of surprise to Bohemian Rhapsody that I also think was helped because it was navigating the same Green Book thing of people were criticizing it. It was the reverse of Everything Everywhere or La La Land, where people were criticizing it, so then they went in and had a better time than they were expecting, and therefore I think that movie rose in a lot of people's favor. I think he's hurt with the fact that everybody is comparing him to a Rami Malek trajectory, or a
Yeah,
Renee
it's a
Zellweger.
better performance, I think, easily.
I mean, we may agree, but
Subjective.
that's subjective.
Yeah. I think they
I
did
think you
like this
always
film
need that
more too,
element of surprise.
nomination
That's what
wise.
I think Brendan Fraser has going for him is that element of surprise. And he could pull this off because it could just end
Not
up
at
being
BAFTA.
I mean, he could listen, I wouldn't
I think he
doubt it.
could win SAG and then because that's the last ceremony before Oscar voting. If he wins at SAG and gives a great speech, then he could very well win the Oscar. I mean, they're holding like SAG Q&As with Brendan Fraser that they're not actually showing The Whale. It's just a career retrospective with SAG voters. So probably a smart move
I,
considering the
I
quality of the
wouldn't
film.
be surprised because like let's just because we could be looking at a trajectory where he won Critics' Choice, he maybe wins SAG, and he could win the Oscar. I mean, you could why not throw BAFTA on top of
It's
that?
very possible.
I wouldn't
I just
discount
don't think it's a
him.
BAFTA kind of thing.
Yeah, but again,
I would
I
rank
just
him like fourth here.
we're looking at three performances where I wouldn't call any of these Oscar bait. To be honest, Austin Butler maybe is the closest just because he's playing a real person. Um, but like these aren't the type of male performances we usually see. Brendan Fraser
What
is
is what would you say
yelling.
are recent like lead male Oscar bait performances then?
I mean, Will Smith and King Richard is a very type of expected, like that seems the type of
Yeah,
you would give an Oscar to. Um, Rami Malek, of course.
I think Austin Butler
Gary
and Brendan
Oldman in
Fraser
Darkest
can.
Hour.
Yeah,
I just feel like you look at these characters and they feel a little bit more. I think Austin Butler's helped with the fact that it's Baz Luhrmann's Elvis.
Yeah.
That gives him a different perspective into the real life figure. So I wouldn't count any of them out yet. I am interested to see where BAFTA leans and if they're able to cement a narrative for Fraser, or I still think it's possible that Farrell could end up surprising because there just seems to be a lot of love, especially within the SAG, for Banshees.
See, the way I see it is I don't think Fraser can win BAFTA, and I don't think Farrell can win SAG, but I think Butler can win both. Is what I
Tell me
think.
this: what you're a voter, because I know you're mixed on the movie overall. So
On
I
Elvis?
on Elvis, but tell
Yes,
me
I would
why
not be
you
voting for
feel
Austin
it.
Butler here.
What?
If I were voting here, I would not be voting for Austin Butler. No.
Who would you? Oh, you would vote for Paul Mescal. Why did I ask?
Yeah, I would vote for Paul Mescal. Yeah.
But okay, but let me just ask you this. Give me a hypothetical. Why, if you're a voter, do you vote for Austin Butler now? Other than Colin Farrell, who everybody
Because it's
knows.
the kind of performance they love.
Yeah, but
They
they
don't
also
care as
love
much about
big,
narrative as
emotive, you know.
this is the big emotive performance.
It
It's
is,
more
but they,
emotive than Farrell, I think.
I just think that we're looking at a season where we have Austin Butler and Brendan Fraser, who are both giving these big, loud performances. You could say the same way that we had Glenn Close and Lady Gaga giving these powerhouse performances, and then this like little darkly comedic, but then also very depressing turn
I
in
could
this
see
little
it.
movie
Yeah.
that everybody loves from an actor that hasn't gotten their due, but there is this awareness of, and he's part of the United Kingdom, isn't he, Colin Farrell?
He's Irish.
Yeah, he's Irish. I mean, listen, if you're from the UK, let us know if that helps or hurts him.
And being
Um,
Irish, yeah, who knows?
yeah, but I don't know. I that's what I see happening. I just don't see enough people being like, Austin Butler's good, but he's good enough that like I can't imagine not voting for him. I see some people going, yeah, sure, why not? I liked Elvis, and but I think Brendan Fraser hurts him because those are the biggest performances, and then Colin Farrell sneaks his way in for the people who like their more nuanced, subtle, off kilter type of roles.
Yeah, he's Farrell's easily my number two here, and just at every awards, sir. Well, not SAG, but here at the Oscars. I just think when they vote, it usually just comes down to the performance more so than the narrative. And I think Austin Butler's performance is just the most appealing to voters and actors. But we shall see. That's one of the few categories where we're still very much disagreeing on where we land.
I honestly think Banshees is going to go the favorite route. I think it's going to win Best British Film, not Best Film, and gain 2 acting awards, which we'll talk about in a second,
With supporting actors.
and then get screenplay. That's what I think is going to happen for Banshees.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Now on to supporting actress, which you just alluded to. You may not be going with Queen Ramonda here.
I know. Yeah, I just think that as you.
No, I'm not either. It makes sense.
Yeah, I just feel like Black Panther. It's only nomination, right?
I believe so, which shows her strength. But it didn't get costumes, no.
It shows her strength. I don't think a loss here.
She could have been a jury pick also.
Yeah, I don't think a loss here means that she won't still have a trajectory for the Oscar. I mean, 2018 seems to be a very prophetic year for this year. I think
like
it's going to be the
Regina
same thing as Regina King, where Regina King, this very well respected Black actress, is in a movie.
She wasn't even nominated there.
Yeah, isn't in really. It's not in a. She's not in a movie that was well responded to by the BAFTAs, but that doesn't mean that she was out on the Oscar. It's a powerful performance with 2 great scenes, just like Regina King.
Yeah.
And it's also, as you said, a career win for a talent who really deserves that in a movie that just missed out on Best Picture, which I contend, I think, is what happened. I think Wakanda Forever was on the outside looking in, just as If Beale Street Could Talk was on the outside looking in. So that's why I think our Rachel Weisz from The Favorite, who won the BAFTA, is Carrie Condon for the Banshees.
I agree. Yeah, it makes the most sense. I think Carrie Condon has hit pretty much everywhere. I think she's easily the number 2 everywhere behind Bassett. Besides here, I think she's the number 1 here. They
She still
usually
could be the Mark Rylance. I don't want to
she
count out
could.
because I
No.
do think
Yeah.
what could end up happening is the fact that when it comes to voting for an Academy Award, they don't think a
The
Marvel
Marvel. Mm.
performance is worthy of that honor, and they go Carrie Condon. That because I think that is what ended up happening to Sylvester Stallone. It just came to the point that are we really going to give him an Oscar for the seventh Rocky movie? And they went Mark Rylance. Now, and mind you, Bridge of Spies did get into Best Picture where Creed did not. So despite Creed maybe seeming more popular within the Academy, there was one that was more popular. So I could still see Carrie
Yeah,
Condon at the last minute pulling this off.
she could.
I feel like she's hurt because the thing that Mark Rylance had is that he was the thing people were talking about the movie. Carrie Condon is fighting a lot of other attention from Colin Farrell, from Mark McDonough himself, from Brendan Gleeson, Barry Keoghan. Um, that is the one thing that hurts her as far as building that
Yeah.
momentum. People have to be talking about you, and if you're not the first thing on their lips when they say Banshees of Inisherin, unlike Black Panther, which if you're talking about Black Panther, the first thing you're talking about is Angela Bassett.
Yeah. I agree. I think 2018 is a very 2018 and 2017 are very comparable years
Yeah,
for I think what we're talking about this year. And I think
big
it's very
blockbuster.
much
Yeah.
yeah, I think God, I hate Siri. And she just interrupted me again. Okay. I forgot what I was gonna say. Yeah, I think Carrie Condon makes the most sense. It's the British vote. Usually you see at least one action category most years. Um, where an expected frontrunner pretty much everywhere else gets upended by a British performance. I mean, it
Can we
happened
pour
last
one
year with
out? Can we pour
yeah.
one out for Carrie Mulligan, who, when Carrie Condon's name is read out for a second, she's
Oh,
gonna think she won it, and her heart will go up, and then
oh, because she is nominated here. Yes, yeah,
yeah,
no,
just like when Mark Ruffalo was nominated in the same category as Mark
Mark
Rylance to bring it
R.
back. It's that's the one thing like Kiwi Kwan. Nobody's getting their hopes up. They know from the. I
Yeah,
mean, unless they're reading Barry Keoghan's name backwards. That's the only
yeah.
chance.
Well, speaking of supporting actor, lock it up. I mean, Ki Kwan's just winning everywhere,
Yeah, I
just
think
like
he
2018
is.
with Mahershala
Yeah,
Ali.
he is the win for the movie. And I think he's the guaranteed win for the
Yeah,
movie. And I
here,
think
yes,
I mean, I would say everywhere. He's going to win everywhere for the
yeah.
movie. He's the guaranteed winner from everything everywhere. The question is whether it can win more. And I wonder if it starts becoming the thing that this is the only thing it wins at every show now. I wonder. Let's see if everything everywhere can pull off another win. If it can pull off screenplay against Banshees, that would be very, very indicative of a lot of support
Well,
for everything everywhere at BAFTAs, but I don't think that's going to happen.
speaking of original screenplay, I have Banshees winning.
Yeah.
I
Don't
just
you
think that
love
makes sense.
these transitions? That I mean,
Amazing
yeah,
transitions. Yeah, it
so
just
good.
I know we both have Tar winning picture, so usually you would say, "Oh, why isn't that then winning screenplay?" I think just like I think Roma didn't win screenplay here, even though it won picture. Power Power of the Dog didn't win screenplay here, even though it won picture. Coda won screenplay here at the BAFTAs, which is insane. Um, even what's the other comparison? Something else, I'm sure, but there's plenty. You don't need to win
No, because if it's
screenplay.
winning picture and director, like they do want to spread the love. And I think that you
This
have
is the
two other
most writerly
movies.
film.
Like, listen, Tar is an exceptional screenplay, but I do think again, it's as we talked about, it's perceived as an acting feat, a directorial feat. I think
Yeah,
writing is probably the third thing on that list that it's perceived as an achievement of. Where I think
yeah.
Banshees is definitely, I think, perceived as a writer's movie. And I think
Hmm.
Everything Everywhere has benefited from just being the most original movie among these lists and just being so creative. That's something that,
Yeah,
the script is responsible for. So, and I also could just see it. I just see what I end up seeing right now. And this is not to compare the quality of these movies, but I see a Banshees, Belfast, Everything Everywhere, Licorice Pizza comparison of like you have the more
yeah,
traditional movie that is has a lot of dialogue heavy scenes compared to the movie that's a little bit more off kilter. They're both. I mean, these are both comedies, Banshees and Everything Everywhere in a way.
Yes.
But I did.
Tar a
I
little
think
bit.
Banshees is going to be an easier pill to swallow.
Yeah. I don't think the BAFTAs are gonna like. I know they nominated it for a good amount, but in terms of giving it a win, I just don't think the BAFTA, the British Academy of Film Awards, I don't think they're going to really like Everything Everywhere that much.
Like I would argue, and this is why I think it's also out front for the Oscars. It's the one that I actually feel like most people, which I don't know if anybody does, but this is my logic, that you can pick up the script and just read it and feel content. You know,
Yeah,
I think you don't need the visual necessity of film to get the
For
intended
Banshees, right?
resonance. For Banshees, yeah.
Yes, yes, I agree. I mean, yeah, Martin McDonagh is a playwright, so it makes sense that he has that ability. But in a trickier screenplay category, adapted screenplay, no women talking here, which is going to win the Oscar.
I
Let
wouldn't
All
be so
Quiet could. All
sure.
Quiet could. That's the
That's
only
not
other.
the one I think could win the Oscar.
Top Gun is not winning. Top Gun is not coming
Nobody thought
close.
Green Book would beat The Favorite, my dear friend, and Green
Green
Book
Book
was
is
considered the best
much
screenplay of
more of
that
a
year.
much more of a writer film than Top Gun. Top Gun
I
is
agree. I
everything but a
I'm
writing
just
film.
saying. I'm just saying because you. I think we both agree that Women Talking was probably that 10th Best Picture contender, right? It was the 10th
Um,
nominee most likely.
that or yeah, probably. Yeah,
So compared to
but it's
Top
the
Gun, which
win
might be
Benjamin.
your number one, I'm just saying if
Top Gun
people
is
love Top
not.
Gun, they might go crazy and vote it like Coda anywhere they can. I'm warning you that way when it happens, you won't get so upset.
Okay, okay, but I don't
When you
think
have
Top
to
Gun is
see
winning here
freaking
because they're not
what's his
nominated.
name, the guy who wrote like
Who wrote?
Transformers
Yeah,
4 up there instead of
Oscar nominee.
Sarah Polly, we've been
I would
down this
just
road
turn off the
before.
telecast. Yes, I would just turn off the telecast at that point. Here I think is where the power of the Brit being British is an advantage. I think they'll probably give it to Living, right? Living or All Quiet.
Yeah, I think the thing that helps All Quiet is that people are aware of what it was adapted from, which sometimes helps you, I feel.
And it's
Um,
done well. It's won, I think it won like NBR for adapted screenplay. It's already won some screenplay awards.
yeah,
It's a war movie, and I think it'll win some tech categories. I don't know if this is where they're going to throw some love towards it.
yeah. So
This is where
we'll
they
see.
could show Living some love since it probably won't win actor.
But this could also, let me just check one thing.
I would like to see She Said win or The Quiet Girl.
Yeah, I was checking to see if The Quiet Girl was up for any of the Best Picture awards. It doesn't seem that it is, but Living was. So I believe Living is the only one of these to be in a Best Picture race at the BAFTAs,
Besides All Quiet, yeah.
except All Quiet. So that, but I'm just saying because as you said, All Quiet seems to be leaning tech
War.
wise. So
Yeah.
like whether they'll appreciate the script is another thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well,
so yeah.
speaking of All Quiet tech categories, cinematography. I think All Quiet's going to win here.
Let me look over the list, shall I?
All
Yeah.
Quiet, Top Gun, Elvis, Empire Light, The Batman. I don't think it's going to be Top Gun. I mean, it can even carry over at the Oscars. I guess it could be, but I think once it missed the Oscars, it's kind of like lost a lot of the passion, I guess,
Yeah.
that there was there for it. I
Yeah.
think they would just go for this anyways, to be honest.
No, I mean, listen, there's some beautiful framing there, some striking visuals. The only thing that will hurt All Quiet is because this group, I think, did go more into 1917 than the Oscars did, which is do they feel it's redundant so quickly? But I don't think they will, because again, I don't know what takes it. Like, are they really going to go Elvis?
I don't think so.
That's the only other one that has a Best Picture correlation, I believe. In the main or Best Film, Empire of Light
Yeah,
is up for Best British Film. So
yeah. Surprisingly, I just watched that the other day. It's okay.
what was you didn't like
It
it?
was okay. I
It
mean,
was
I didn't
okay.
hate it. It's okay.
I didn't hate it, but it definitely was like, all right, this seems to be too many
A lot of
underclass that we're
ideas.
lopping together.
Too many ideas,
Yeah,
Mr. Mendez.
yeah.
There's a reason you're not
Compare
up
that
for any
to
screenplay awards.
Yeah, compare that to All Quiet, which I finally caught up with. I saw it in theaters, And for the whole time, I was like, yes, I know, war is bad.
Oh my
Uh-huh.
God, yeah.
So like,
I did a video ranking the best picture nominees, and I don't think people are gonna be happy where I have All Quiet. I respect it as a movie. I was just like, I'm getting at a point with war
you
films
have
where
it
I'm
at number
like,
10, don't you?
no, I don't have it at number 10, thankfully. You know what I have at number 10. Come on. Elvis.
Elvis?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
like very
Elvis was
easily.
definitely the bottom two for me.
Yeah, it was my number 9. Yeah. I need war movies to be more than just like, look at how terrible war is. We should never have war again. And also look at all of this technical prowess. There you go. The end. It's just like I need a little more. But yeah, this is not an All Quiet hate fest. It's winning cinematography, we think. Do you think it'll win the Oscar?
Who's winning the Oscar? Are you asking
Do you
me?
think it'll be All Quiet too? Because if it did, I think it would only be the third film to ever win cinematography without an ASC nomination.
I don't know. That category so
They
struck
had
me
so
up.
many better options too, like
I mean, I would
Babylon.
love if Tar
Nope,
came out of nowhere
that would
just
be great.
just so that everybody could be like, yeah, guys, it's not just about like, oh, that looks pretty. Like it's about framing,
So much more
it's about
lighting.
movement, it's about lighting, you know. So I mean, who knows? But I do think All Quiet
I'm
probably has the
surprised Warner Brothers isn't. I don't know if it would be like ethical too. I probably, but playing up the fact that Mandy Walker would be the first woman to ever win for cinematography, but they are not playing that up in their campaigns. And I don't personally know if that's Mandy Walker
because the
thing.
names aren't on the ballot. The names are on the ballot for the
Yeah,
actors, but they're not on the ballots for the. So like Roger Deakins' name was not on the ballot when he won for Blade Runner 2049, and
but everyone knew it was Roger Deakins.
um, but everybody knew he was
It
benefiting
was
from a
campaigned.
groundswell of support. I think we have to call that the Riseborough effect from now
Oh
on.
God, yes.
But if fun side note, it was fun because I know I did. I think you might have, or maybe you're planning to see Titanic and the re-release. And
Oh, not
seeing
yet, but I
Frances
should.
Fisher walk around that thing, I'm like,
Oh my
in
God,
25
I
years,
forgot
this
she
is
was
gonna
in that.
change Oscar history.
Yep, yep.
Um,
God, yeah.
but
Frances Fisher.
yeah, what were we talking about?
We were talking about cinematography. If you thought All Quiet was going to win the Oscar, I think it probably will.
Yes, I think at this point, most likely. But that's what I'm saying. So like, it doesn't behoove them to like make a big deal of the female cinematographer on Elvis because it's like they're gonna
It's
forget by
not.
the time
Yeah,
they.
she's not like a Roger Deakins name. Yeah.
Also, I
Um.
think Roger Deakins needs to now just every time he makes a movie, they just need to add a year to the title. It doesn't matter if it makes sense. Like Empire of
Oh,
Light.
because that's what he's won for.
No,
Yes.
when was it? Empire of Light, Chariots of Fire. Was that like
I
1978?
think it was in the
81?
80s. I think. I
Empire of Light.
I think it takes place in the 80s. I
Okay,
couldn't
because they
tell.
premiere, yeah, early 80s, because they
Yeah,
premiere um
sure. It's
Chariots
a
of
fire.
Fire at the theater. So if they called it Empire of Light early 1980s, then maybe he wins because he
Yeah,
only wins when there's a year in the title.
true. I don't know what he's doing next, but he better make sure it has a year in the title. Costume design. Elvis. Do you agree?
Let's see. We
There's no
have All
Black
Quiet
Panther here.
Western Front, Amsterdam,
I know, quite a choice.
Babylon, Elvis, and Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. I would love if it was Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris,
It would
but
be
I believe
nice.
Jenny Beavan, who also did Mad Max and um, Cruella, I believe she won last. I imagine she won last year, right?
She did for Quilla, yeah.
Yeah. So I know she won the Oscar. I'm wondering if she won the BAFTA.
I would think so. I
I
think
would
she
think so.
kind of swept.
But so
I
maybe
don't see
like
what else would win besides Elvis.
yeah, yeah.
Elvis's only competition everywhere for costume design is Black Panther, and I think I
And
mean,
Black
it's not
Panther's
here.
not even bad.
So
My only thing with just Elvis is just because they take so much influence from what he actually wore. Like that's why I'm a bigger fan of like Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris because I just feel like those are like
yeah,
original signs
if
from
I
the
were voting, I
era.
wouldn't be voting for Elvis, but I think Elvis is also very seen, very showy. And I think they do kind of like when you adapt iconic outfits, and they adapted a lot of
They
iconic
like
outfits.
seeing stuff they already know. You know,
Yeah.
that's in everything. It's like I
Okay.
recognize that. Give that
Mm-hmm.
the award. So yeah, why not? Elvis makes sense.
Editing. I'm a little stuck here. What do you have winning editing? editing.
Let's see. We have All Quiet on the Western Front, Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Top Gun Maverick. I think
Between Top Gun and All Quiet.
with an outsider chance of Elvis, I agree. I think
Yeah.
I'm going to lean.
Top Gun,
I'm going to lean
probably.
Top Gun.
Yeah.
That's not a
I'll
win some.
also I'll also lean Top Gun with the outside chance of All Quiet. And maybe Elvis, like you mentioned. Elvis is like contending for every category it's in, so good for Elvis. Speaking of Elvis, makeup and hair, I have Elvis winning.
Unless Brendan Fraser wins, right? Because that's up here. Let me just
Yeah,
see.
the whale is here.
Yeah, the whale's here. So unless Brendan Fraser wins Best Actor, most likely, yes, I think Elvis. Though All Quiet, as mixed as I am on the movie, some impeccable
It's
makeup.
good makeup. Yeah. I mean, he's in like dirt for half the film, so
Yeah. And the
yeah.
blood. Oh my god, I had to look away at some points.
And Emma Thompson is unrecognizable in Matilda, so they've got that too.
And you know who else is unrecognizable in that movie?
Oh god, Andrea Riseborough. She's unrecognizable in every role because she's a character actor.
I would have loved if she got nominated for that too. She pulled like a 2
Not
nominations.
in lead actress, but yeah.
Yeah, she's
Pulled the
great.
ScarJo. She was good, yeah. Um, Production design. I'm also a little stuck here. I'm between All Quiet, Elvis, and Babylon. Elvis is
Um,
currently leading, but I don't know. I feel like maybe
we
All
have
Quiet.
Catherine Martin here again, by the way, because she's also in costume design.
Yes. She
I think
usually
we're
wins
gonna
them
go.
in pairs.
I think
Like
we're
if
gonna
she
go
wins
All
one.
Quiet.
Yeah, I'm double checking. Did 19 let's see, did 1917 win production design here? Um
I have a feeling
Production
we'll.
design. It did. It did. And it didn't win the Oscar. And I think Babylon will probably win the Oscar. So yeah, I'll say All Quiet as well. Speaking of Babylon, score. I still think Babylon will win here.
Let's take a look. Where are you?
He won
Score?
for La La Land.
He did win for La La Land. He won everywhere for La La Land.
Yeah, not that they're
Or
equally.
Nicholas Bertel in Moonlight.
Yes.
Let's see. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, All Quiet or Banshees they're all strong scores, but I think Babylon is the catchy one.
My mom got she really liked Babylon and she got annoyed at how catchy the Babylon score is.
Voodoo
So
Mama has been on repeat
and Call Me
every
Manny.
second of it. That one too, yes. It's
Bow,
very
bow.
catchy. Yes. Best sound, All Quiet or Top Gun?
All Quiet.
Yeah, probably All Quiet.
Because I'm assuming
Yeah,
1917 won this category over
it
Ford v.
did.
Ferrari.
It did, yeah. But did Ford v Ferrari win editing that year? Let's see. It did. So yeah, yeah, I would agree. All Quiet is going to win sound.
If you just pay attention to the past, it makes these predictions very
Yes.
easy.
We'll see though, because they, like we mentioned, they change their system every year in terms of like how, just who knows. So we'll see. We'll see. Visual effects. I'm thinking All Quiet. No, I'm joking. Avatar.
uh yeah. Lock it in.
I'm happy for it. I liked it more than All Quiet, which probably puts me on some people's
Doesn't put you on
bad
my
taste
list because I
list.
agree.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, this and Dune can play tennis for the next couple of years with this
yeah,
category.
they can. Yeah, it probably will be just them. Yeah, which will be fun. I mean, I wonder if Denis gets in next year. We'll talk about that when we do our 2024 Oscar predictions.
Let's
Very soon. Very soon.
finish
Very
this
soon.
one
He
season
didn't
at
get
a
in for the
time.
first one. Best casting. This is an interesting one. This category has only been around for, I believe, 2 or 3 years. So there's not much history to look back on. I believe West Side Story, Rocks, and Joker have won this category. So very
I'm
different.
gonna go with Everything Everywhere All at Once because I think that casting. I'm going to see a correlation between ensemble awards and casting. And I think the only thing we have to go off of is that Everything Everywhere it's between that and Banshees for the SAG Awards, and Banshees isn't in here,
Yeah.
so I'm going to go Everything Everywhere. I also think it is. I don't think it's debatable. I think Sarah Haley Finn is the best casting director working today. Um,
She's good.
her legacy,
Did she cast this film?
she did.
Oh wow.
'Cause the
Oh,
Russo
Russo
brothers
brothers. Yeah.
produced it.
Which, if it
Um,
wins Best Picture, they will not win the Oscar.
they will not. Which I think is funny. Um,
Yes.
but it's good. Listen, it's good. It's a good thing on their CV. They need
They're
like,
busy with Extraction too, and The
yeah,
Gray Man too, and whatever
they're
other
doing fine.
Netflix garbage they want to
They're
make.
doing fine. I mean, listen, The Gray Man it wasn't the worst thing I've seen on Netflix. It
No,
was.
but that's a very, very low bar.
I mean, yeah, kind of. Anyway, point being, I think Sarah Haley Finn, she's well respected. I think, like, I don't know
Yeah.
if she's been up in the past, but I feel like this type of award, like,
I don't think she was either of the past three nominees. I
yeah,
don't think.
I think
I
she's
still don't. I can't wrap my head around Joker winning for the first year for this. I guess if there were to be a Joker kind of pick this year, I think it would
well.
be Elvis, because I
Well,
think that's kind of,
it's you could be just casting one role.
yeah. I think if they were going to go with that this year, it would be Elvis.
To be fair, with Joker, you had Joaquin Phoenix, you had Francis Conroy, the actor
De
who played
Niro,
Thomas
Zazie
Wayne,
Beetz,
Zazie
whoever
Beetz,
that guy was.
Mark Maron for 2 seconds,
Yeah. Also in
Brian
To
Tyree
Leslie.
Henry,
We're always tying
for
it back
Oscar
to
nominee.
Leslie.
Always back to Leslie.
It's on her mind 24/7.
So it was worthy. I don't know if it was the most worthy movie that year. I have to go
Oh,
back and
no.
check. But
The
but
nominees
anyway,
that year were Marriage Story, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, The Personal History of David Copperfield, and The Two Popes, along with Joker.
oh, Marriage Story should have won that hands down.
Yeah,
just
should
for
have.
just for casting Merritt Weaver and her pecan pie. Uh,
Yeah.
I
I would
love it.
also say Everything Everywhere here. But if they do a Joker kind of thing, I think that would be Elvis.
Yeah,
And I
I
also
wouldn't
would
count
say
out
look out
Triangle
for,
of Sadness.
yeah, that's also some good ensembles here. Animated Pinocchio.
Next,
I do think I do think just because it missed a lot of this isn't about the Oscars, but it did miss a lot at the Oscars. So I wouldn't count out Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. But I think it was also a very smart
I would
move.
count out Puss in Boots: The Last One. Guillermo del Toro has won almost every single animation category this year,
I know.
and
I'm just saying it's not like as much of a it's not as strong as we thought it was.
well, I mean, it's
It
not.
missed it
I
just
would
got
say
animated.
don't misinterpret our because remember what we were saying. We were thinking it was stronger because we thought that was Netflix's priority, which at the last minute we realized it wasn't.
Netflix didn't know what their priority was. I don't think they planned on All
No,
Quiet.
but just like I think in the end, I think we were getting a little optimistic about what Pinocchio could actually do. I think because really the only thing it missed was music, which to be honest,
Yeah.
I'll
But
talk about.
animated films get into like the past. It's been a while since an animated film that won best animated, since there was no animated film that didn't get into other categories. Like last year there was Encanto, then there was Soul, then there was Toy Story. I guess it was Spider-Verse was the last one,
Spider-Verse, which I think
which
this
is
is.
very Puss in Boots-esque.
Yeah, but Spider-Verse,
I
I
know,
think
I'm just joking.
Spider-Verse was also the last time Disney didn't win this category. So it seems if you're a Disney
Yeah.
movie, you get it in more categories. But if you're just a straight animation, you get in one and you
True.
could win. Guillermo del Toro, like people know who he is. He gives great
He's
speeches
gonna win.
in the cinema. I don't think Puss in Boots. I get Puss in Boots. Listen,
All I'm saying is
Shrek won this
if it's
category once, and it won the first time this category ever existed. It will never happen again.
yeah, and I think it was also very smart for them to make the title actually Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, not just Pinocchio, because you know.
Very. I
Um,
hadn't thought of that. That is probably very smart.
extremely smart. It's like, oh, which Pinocchio from this past year was it? Are they talking about the Disney one? No, Guillermo del Toro.
Well, just because you would pass it, like you would just pass it,
Oh,
like
another
your
Pinocchio.
eyes
Yeah,
would glance over.
but you
I
see
think it's funny
GDT. Yeah,
because
I'm
it's
just
odd to
saying.
me because like he co-directs it. There's another director on
Yeah,
the
I do
movie,
feel bad for
so
the
I
other
did
director.
wonder why he was like because I don't know I'm not a
It's a
big
smart marketing move.
of saying like if I ever like when I make a movie and Anthony post
Your
film, I
name,
don't know if I'm
yeah.
going to do that because I
No,
don't think
I
of
wouldn't
it
do
as
that
a singular thing.
personally.
So it's interesting, but that might be the reason. They might have been
I
like, if
think
you
it
want
is
to win these
probably a marketing
awards,
move.
put your
Yeah,
name on it.
yeah. I'm
So
just
that's
saying,
people.
don't count out Puss in Boots. If there's going to be an upset, it will be Puss in Boots. But that movie's a little overrated, so never mind.
The range of emotions were going
It's a
on
little overrated.
in a
People calling
category
it like
that doesn't.
Citizen Kane.
I mean, listen, it was a fun movie.
It was nice. The
It
animated
was
with a
like
nice
an
little
hour and a
plot.
half shorter than Avatar. So I think for people to go to the movie theater, it was like a nice episode of television.
Yeah, yeah. Documentary feature. Moon Age Daydream.
I mean,
Probably
listen, they could go in any direction. It just
they
depends
could.
what title are they in the mood for picking that
Moon
day.
Age Daydream is leading Gold Derby, and I'm not very what's the word researched in this category or confident. So I'll stick with Moon Age Daydream. And I think Rising Star, last one. Rising Star, our nominees are Jalen McCormick, Naomi Aki, Amy Lou Wood, Emma Mackey, and Sheila Atim, who I just saw in a Sundance film titled All the Dirt Roads Tasted Salt. And she's very good in it. She's definitely a rising star. I
Do you
think
know
probably
what she did? She was in one of the most highest grossing movies of last year. Do you remember?
Yeah, she was the girl who Wong like got killed, right?
It's my favorite thing. Like she comes in for a second,
She
like,
deserved
what did
better.
she give him a kiss or give him like a hand on the head, and then
Were they
she.
romantically involved?
I think in one of the drafts.
Wow, interesting.
It was fun. It was a fun death though. She was a
It
cool,
was a good death, yes.
rainy style.
And now we can
I just
never
love that she
have
went
her
from that to
career
Woman
get
King.
caught up in the MCU,
Yeah.
so she's
She
free
was
of that.
also, I believe, she was in Halle Berry's Bruised.
She was, yeah.
I have to get used to because now Little Mermaid's coming, and I have to be ready. Haley Bailey or Halle
Haley
Bailey.
Bailey.
Halle Bailey.
Halle Bailey.
That better
Halle
be an
Berry.
SNL sketch. I swear to God,
Oh,
if
it will
that's
be.
not like Halle
They should do
Berry,
it together.
Halle Bailey, and then like they do like all the Chris's, like the fact that Michael Keaton's real name is Michael Douglas. They could have like a whole thing of like signing up for your SAG name. Oh my God.
Yes.
We need to
Yes.
pitch them.
They should do it together. I think Halle Berry would be up for it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and who knows? Halle Berry, the only person of color to ever win Best Actress. Maybe Halle Bailey will be joining her next year for her Best Actress for The Little
I
Mermaid.
mean, listen, I heard her sing Part of Your World. I think she could maybe get a Golden
Great
Globe
singer.
nomination, but I think
No,
anything beyond that
that's
is
Annette Bening's category, guys. Come on. For Naiad, an upcoming Netflix film about her. She's an Olympic swimmer.
sure.
It's her
I'm going
time.
to assume, given we've talked about 7 other movies that are not nominated for the BAFTAs, that we're all good.
But you didn't say who's winning Rising Star. Probably Gerald McCormick, right?
I mean, he was nominated, so that benefits him. But I also
That makes the
think
most sense.
when you play Whitney Houston and you've been in a Star War, I do think you probably have the
Yeah,
biggest.
but you've been in the worst
Star.
Star War.
She was not in the Phantom Menace.
That's a good Star War.
She was also not in the holiday special, so do not.
Better than Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, stop. You haven't seen the holiday special.
I haven't, but I would probably enjoy it.
Don't give me that.
I would probably enjoy it more.
The holiday special does not have the emotive eyes of Adam Driver or Daisy Ridley, so no way.
It does have Ewoks though.
No, it has Wookiees. It doesn't have Ewoks.
Wookiees. Oh.
Go watch the holiday special.
Okay.
On that
I don't know
note,
if I should.
we're losing.
Those are our BAFTA predictions. Comment yours down below. What do you think is going to win at the BAFTAs? It's upcoming very soon. Are you on the Tar train like we are, part of the Tar Army, the Tar Nation? What in the Tar Nation? Yeah.
What in the
We're on
I really want Tar to win Best Picture so the headlines can read the next morning. What in the Tar Nation?
with the asterisk.
Last night.
Deadline will definitely do that. Deadline loves their puns. Yes. So yeah, comment your predictions down below. Like the video, subscribe, stay tuned for all of the upcoming award stuff we're gonna have coming up very soon. Anthony, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me in a REM cycle very soon when I'm sleeping. But when I'm not sleeping and getting some needed sleep, I am on Twitter and Instagram and Letterboxd at Anthony_post, and here on YouTube, spoilers ahead with Anthony Post.
Awesome. Yeah, so thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in whatever video comes after this video. Bye.